Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Injuries at the Point podcast. I am your host, Tyler Aaron. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, it is at TylerAaron65, or you can follow the show's Instagram or Twitter at PenguinsFan65. And in today's episode, we will talk about should the Penguins invite someone to a professional tryout? If so, who? In the next segment, we will talk about why did Jim Rutherford resign as the Penguins GM, and we will round off this episode with how some of the Penguins players are doing in the Beauty League this summer, and that is all coming up right after this drop.
Oh, slap me, silly Sydney. Oh, save my face with a rusty razor. Oh, Murphy and the fans are smiling like a butcher's dog. Oh, let's go hunt moose on a Harley. Oh, scratch my back with a hat. As he beats Theodore like a rated mule. Ladies and gentlemen, you got it. Elvis has just left the building.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of the Injuries at the Point podcast. I am your host, Tyler Aaron. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, it is at TylerAaron65, or you can follow the show's Instagram or Twitter at PenguinsFan65, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into this first segment. Should the Penguins invite someone to a professional tryout, and if so, who? Last year, the Penguins signed Brian Boyle to a professional tryout, and he did so well that we signed him to a 1-year, $750K deal, and did pretty well for us. So I have 6 different players that I'm going to talk about that can potentially be on the Penguins next season on a professional tryout. And so we are going to get right into it, with the first one being former Penguin Zach Aston Reese. Now, before I start reading his stat lines, I just want to clarify that the players I picked are players that can play on the penalty kill and can play on that third, fourth line for the Penguins this upcoming year. Just so that. So anyway, getting back into it with the first player being Zach Aston Reese. He started his career in 2017-18 with the Penguins, playing 16 games, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points with a plus-minus of 2. Overall, that is a really great rookie season there. I actually was at the Penguin game where he scored his first 2 career NHL goals. Moving right along to the 2018-19 season with Pittsburgh, he played 43 games, scoring 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points with a plus-minus of 12. In 2019-20 with the Penguins, he played 57 games, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points with a plus-minus of +6. In the 2020-21 season, he played 45 games with Pittsburgh, scoring 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points for a plus-minus of 10. And in this past season, he played 52 games for the Penguins, 2 goals, 9 assists, 11 points with a plus-minus of 8, and then played 17 games with the Ducks after the trade deadline, scoring 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points with a plus-minus of 1. Now, with Zach Aston Reese, he reminds me a lot of Ryan Reeves a bit. He is more of an enforcer, and he is one of the guys that you don't want to mess with. A heck of a penalty killer when he did play for the Penguins, and that's something we do lack and need is penalty kill. And so he is a phenomenal fourth-line winger. I remember him playing with Bluger and Tanev a few seasons ago. Easily one of the best fourth lines in the league, along with the New York Islanders. And so I think it would be a great addition, and we can get him on a 1-year $750K deal Now, frankly, the Penguins are 1.4 million over the cap. I think that will change by training camp. We'll probably be back under the cap because I think we are going to go right ahead and move some of those depth defensemen such as Chad Ruedel, Mark Freeman, either sending them down to the AHL or just trading them off the team. I would like the Penguins to move a guy like Dumoulin or Pedersen, but with the salary cap dump price being so high, I don't think that'll be the case. I know Ron Hextall likes to hold on to the draft picks and euthanize this Penguins team coming up in the future. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next player I think the Penguins can make a run for, and that is forward Tyler Mott. He is age 27. He's been in the NHL since 2016-17, playing for the Chicago Blackhawks, playing 33 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points for a plus-minus of 2. In 2017-18, he played for the Blue Jackets, playing 31 games, scoring 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points for a plus-minus of -3. He then got traded that season to the Vancouver Canucks and played 15 games for them, scoring 2 goals, 0 assists, 2 points with a plus-minus of -1. In 2018-19, he played for the Vancouver Canucks, scoring 9 goals, 7 assists, 16 points in 74 games with a plus-minus of -12. In 2019-20, for the Canucks, he played 34 games, scoring 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points for a plus-minus of -10. In 2020-21, he played for the Canucks, playing 24 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points for a total plus-minus of 0. In 2021-22, for the Canucks, he played 49 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points for a plus-minus of 3. And then at the trade deadline, he got traded to the New York Rangers, playing 9 games, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, plus-minus of -1. Now, he's not the greatest player, but I think he could have been a lot better playing with the Rangers, except the Rangers just sat him out for most of the time. He was just a healthy scratch. But Tyler Mott has the potential. He's a great penalty killer, and he could easily be playing on a line with Teddy Bluger on the fourth line. He is an NHL caliber player. I mean, look at what the Penguins do if you are a not so good fourth liner. Edwin Rodriguez, for example. He was practically a healthy scratch in Buffalo playing in the AHL. Now look at him. He scored 19 goals last season. I mean, it's amazing what the Penguins development team can do. For another example here, Danton Heinen, third, fourth line player for Anaheim, comes to Pittsburgh on a cheap, 1 year, $1 million deal, goes out on the third and fourth line, scores 18 goals. It's just amazing what this development team can do with the Penguins. Okay, going on to the next player is Riley Nash, who is age 33. Now, I know the Penguins have made a run for this guy in the past, and frankly, if the Penguins move on from Teddy Bluger, I feel like this is a great fourth line replacement. Now, he's been in the league since 2011, 2012. In that year, he played for the Carolina Hurricanes, playing 5 games, 0 goals, 1 assist, 1 point, +1 in that department. In 2012-13, he played for the Hurricanes, playing 32 games, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, plus-minus of -4. In 2013-14 in Carolina, this is his first big year because he only played 5 games in 2011-12, and 2012-13 was a shortened season, so you really can't count that on a player. He played 73 games, 10 goals, 14 assists, 24 points for a plus-minus of 0. In 2014-15 with Carolina, he played 68 games, 8 goals, 17 assists, 25 points with a plus-minus of -10. In 2015-16, playing for the Hurricanes, he played 64 total games, scoring 9 goals, 13 assists, 22 points with a plus-minus of -5. In 2016-17, playing for the Boston Bruins, he played 81 games, scoring 7 goals, 10 assists, 17 points for a plus-minus of -1. In 2017-18 with Boston, he played 76 games, 15 goals, 26 assists, 41 points with a plus-minus of +16. In 2018-19 with Columbus, he played 78 games, 3 goals, 9 assists, 12 points with a plus-minus of -8. 2019-20, a little bit of a rebound year with Columbus, 64 games, 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 total points with a plus-minus of 6. 2020-21 with Columbus, he played 37 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points with a plus-minus of -1. And this past season, he played with the Jets for 15 games, scoring 0 points, 0 goals, 0 assists with a plus-minus of -1. Then got traded to Tampa Bay and played 10 games for them, scoring 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, -1 rating again. And then finishing out the year with the Arizona Coyotes, playing 24 games, 0 goals, 4 assists, 4 points, with a plus-minus of -3. Now, overall, not the best stats last year. Out of all 3 of those teams, he only scored 0 goals and 4 assists for 4 points, and with a plus-minus of -5. So overall, not the best, but we can see how well he's done. I mean, his career season was 2017-18 with Boston. 15 goals, 26 assists, 41 points in 76 games, plus a plus-minus with 16. Now, that's about the best he's gotten, but he can easily get up to that high-caliber player. I mean, we have a nice group of coaching staff. We just promoted Todd Reardon to an associate coach and re-signed Mike Vellucci as an assistant coach job earlier today. So they can, bring him back up to his old glory days. Now, he's a little bit on the older side, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, look at what Brian Boyle did for the Penguins last year. I mean, come on. You can't count. Just because they're old, you can't count them out. And so the next player I have on this list is forward Brett Ritchie, who's currently 29 years old, and he'd be a great fit on the penalty kill, obviously, in the third line. He's been in the NHL since 2014-15. In that year, he played for the Dallas Stars, playing 31 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points with a plus-minus of -1. In 2015-16, with the Dallas Stars, he played 8 games, scoring 0 goals, 1 assist, 1 point, with a plus-minus of -3. In 2016-2017, with the Dallas Stars, he played 78 games, 16 goals, 8 assists, 24 points, with a plus-minus of +11. In 2017-18, with the Stars, he played 71 games, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points with a plus-minus of +1. In 2018-19, he played 53 games, scoring 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points with a plus-minus of -7. In the shortened season of 2019-2020 with Boston, he played 27 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points with a plus-minus of -3. In 2020-21, with the Calgary Flames, he played 32 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points with a plus minus of -5. And in 2021-22 with the Calgary Flames, he played 41 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points with a plus minus of -6. So his best season was in 2016-17, his first real big sample size, scoring 16 goals, 8 assists, 24 points with a plus minus of 11. I don't think that should be an issue. If he were to play on a professional tryout with the Penguins, overall it'd be a great addition. Maybe playing on the second penalty kill line and the third or fourth line, whether it's playing with Jeff Carter or Teddy Bluger. Next up on the list, I have former Penguin Evan Rodriguez. Well, I guess not really former Penguin, but he's not signed by anybody, so I guess I'll call him former Penguin. He's been in the league since 2015-16, only playing with Buffalo and Pittsburgh. So in his rookie season with Buffalo, he played 2 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points with a plus minus of 2. So a point per game player right there. Next season in 2016-17 with Buffalo, he played 30 games, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points with a plus minus of -7. In 2017-18 with Buffalo, he played 48 games, 7 goals, 18 assists, 25 points with a plus minus of -10. In 2018-19 with Buffalo, he played 74 games, 9 goals, 20 assists, 29 points with a plus minus of -7. Trade deadline acquisition for the Penguins. In that same year, he played 7 games for the Penguins, scoring 1 goal, 0 assists, 1 point for 0 on plus minus. In 2020-21, his first real season with the Penguins, he played 35 games, scoring 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points with a plus minus of -3. And this past season, playing all 82 games, scoring 19 goals, 24 assists, 43 points with a plus minus of 3. So last year he was almost a 20-point goal scorer. Easily the best season of his career. And I think that he's asking for a little too much money based on that, and I think that's why he's still in the free agency market. I know Seattle, us, and Vancouver are really the 3 teams who's really looked at him. I mean, of course, Vancouver, because Jim Rutherford's their GM over there, and he was the one who brought Evan Rodriguez back to the Penguins. And so I think that Evan Rodriguez can't come back on a cheap deal if he really wants to. I don't think that's the case right at this moment in time. I think he's just asking for a little bit too much money, and I don't think teams want to pay that. If I was the Penguins, if I was a team who wanted to give him what he's asking for, it would be like a 1-year prove-it deal. See if he can do it with another team. But overall, I think that he'd be a great addition to be back on the Penguins and make this team look a lot scarier heading into the next season. And last but not least on the list, I have Sonny Milano, who is 26 years old and has been in the league since the 2015-16 season. In his rookie season with the Columbus Blue Jackets, he played 3 games, scoring 0 goals, 1 assist, 1 point for a plus minus of 1. In 2016-2017 with Columbus, he played 4 games, scoring 0 goals, 0 assists for 0 points and a -3. In 2017-18 with Columbus, he played 55 games, scoring 14 goals, 8 assists, 22 points with a plus minus of -8. In 2018-19 with Columbus, he scored 1 goal, 0 assists, 1 point in 8 games with a plus minus of 0. In the shortened season of 2019-20 with Columbus, he played 46 games, 5 goals, 13 assists, 18 points with a plus minus of -5. And at the trade deadline, he got traded to the Anaheim Ducks, playing 9 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points with a -2. In 2020-21, with the Ducks, he played 6 games, scoring 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points with a plus-minus of 0. And last season had a career year with Anaheim, playing 66 games, 14 goals, 20 assists, 34 points with a plus-minus of -9. Now, with Sonny Milano, I wouldn't put him necessarily on the penalty kill. I would use him as a third, fourth line, even if someone in the top 6 goes down, put him into that role. I think if he played with Crosby or Malkin in that case scenario, if someone got hurt like Getsel or Zucker in that matter, have Sony step up into that role, I think he can be absolutely deadly, easily better than Evan Rodriguez in my opinion. And so those are the 6 players that I think that the Penguins could make a run at if they choose on signing somebody to a professional tryout. And so coming up in the next segment, we are going to talk about why did Jim Rutherford resign as the Penguins GM. And that's all coming up right after this. All right, I am back here at the Injuries at the Point podcast. I am your host, Tyler Aaron. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, it is at TylerAaron65, or you can follow the show's Twitter and Instagram at PenguinsFan65. And here in this segment, we are going to talk about why did Jim Rutherford resign as the Penguins general manager. So, in an article recently from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Jason Mackey talked to Jason Rutherford over the phone and pretty much asked him why he left and stuff. So this is what he had to say about it. I guess if I give a short answer to it, everyone's going to keep asking more questions, and that's not something I want. But I do think at some point I should say something about it. So basically, later, he reveals the answer of why he did resign from Pittsburgh. And it's pretty much just to be the gist of it. It was because of COVID-19. He was turning 73 at that point in time, and he later stated that he was really the only one getting out. His family was mostly, and so he was really the only one out there to get infected by the COVID-19 virus. He said, I don't want to suggest I had mental issues. The way I would describe it is I wasn't mentally as strong as I should have been to be myself and continued to do that job. I was starting to react to things differently than I normally would, which led to where I got to. See exactly what I said, it's going to lead to more questions. That's what Jim Rutherford had to say about it. So pretty much he wasn't at his mental state of mind because of COVID-19, and that's why he did end up leaving. And I'm very happy for him now. He's the general manager for the Vancouver Canucks, and I do miss him working for the Penguins, but I am very happy with Brian Burke being the director of hockey of operations and Ron Hextall being the new general manager. I applauded them both on what Jim Rutherford did for the Penguins during that five and a half year stint he had with the Penguins, especially when he played for us way back when he first became an NHL franchise. And so just to keep this short and sweet, it was because of his mental state and affected by the virus. So coming up in the next segment of the Injuries at the Point podcast is how some of the Penguin players are doing in the Beauty League. And that is all coming up right after this. Alright, I am back here on the Injuries at the Point podcast. I am your host, Tyler Aaron. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, it is at TylerAaron65. Or you can follow the show's Instagram or Twitter at PenguinsFan65. And here, jumping into the final segment of this episode, how are some of the players on the Penguins doing in the Beauty League. In case you do not know what the Beauty League is, it is pretty much a summer hockey league in the Midwest in Minnesota. So it's kind of like the NBA's summer league. It's pretty much the NHL's. It's called the Beauty League is what it's called. I know it's a funny name. But this league has some NHLers in it from the Midwest and a little bit of some non-NHL players in it. So the players in the league that's on the Penguins is newly acquired forward Ryan Pelling, Jake Getzel, Jason Zucker, and Teddy Bluger. So starting first, we are going to go to Team Tradition is what the team's called for Teddy Bluger. He has played 7 games, scoring 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points. Wow, that is amazing for Bluger. These point totals are like well over point per game, and I wish that they would do this in the real NHL, but it's not really that skilled, and most people do not try in WD League. But it's just 7 games, 7 goals, 13 assists, 20 points. That is unreal. Now these are all high scoring games. Like I was looking at Team Bick is one of the teams, like all their games are like 10-12 and like 10-7. So they're very high scoring games. So next up on Team Tryout is Jason Zucker. In 3 games, he has 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. Pretty good. On Team Bick, like the pencil company, it's the final 2 players. They both play for the same team. That's Jake Getzel and Ryan Pelling. For Ryan Pelling, in 4 games, he has scored 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Over a point per game, that's not bad for a summer league. And for Jake Getzel, here it is. In 7 games, he has 19 goals, 15 assists, 34 points. Wow, that is amazing. It's pretty much if you take a point per game player and you pretty much multiply it by 5, and that's what you have Jake Getzel doing in the Beauty League. Unreal. Now, I don't care what they do in the summer with the Beauty League, as long as they don't get hurt and have to miss some time during the season. I'm okay with whatever they do, as long as they just do not get hurt in that. So that should be ending soon there, because training camp starts in about a month or so, a little bit less than that. So we are slowly coming out of the dog days of the year, and that is going to do it for this episode of the Yinzers at the Point podcast. So thank you all for listening to this. Next episode will be on Wednesday, August 24th. I'll be shooting for that date. Yep, so that's going to do it for this episode of the Yinzers at the Point podcast. So I will see you guys all in the next episode.